basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience.
The Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time.
All right, guys, it's time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride podcast here on CLNS Media. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. We got some problems, and I know that I'm the alarmist in the group, but I am still pissed off.
You think?
It was embarrassing, Jeff. That game, we're talking about the OKC game. Bob's got some numbers, but Jeff, I'll start with you. I mean, I was watching that game, and I go, third quarter is obviously the big test, but they just folded. I mean, they just folded like a bad folded chair at a concert. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma City turned it up defensively, and the Celtics looked like they were rattled almost.
Right.
You know, I thought that was the biggest thing is like, I mean, they held them. How many points did Celtics score? Like 25 points in the second half or something?
37 to be precise.
Yeah. Bob's got all the numbers.
Well, listen, again, I think the biggest thing we take out of this, Oklahoma City is young, talented, and hungry. And they are hungry. Like, I know that group well enough. I know those guys individually well enough to, like, Lou Dort. I said this kid was going to be a star. I saw him I think it might have been the first game he played in Vegas for Arizona State. And I'm like, this kid is a killer. Now, his shot has never looked great, but he just plays so damn hard and accepts, like, I'm going to have to be an elite defender, and he hasn't changed. And I think that's one of the things that sometimes the Celtics get away from, right? Like, all these guys are capable, more than capable defenders. In fact, all of them, other than Porzingis, can be elite defenders. We've seen it with Derrick White and Drew Holiday. Jaylen Brown's been there before. He can do it. Tatum has shown the ability to be a really, really good defender. But, like, Oklahoma City, they do it, and they got that chip on their shoulder. And Shea Alexander is, boy, I don't know how many players you're taking over him in the NBA right now. I don't know how many, because, again, the difference is when you've got a point guard like that, right? You put the ball in his hands. It's different than Jason Tatum, right? It's just different. It looks different because you can't pressure this kid. You can't rattle him. He can do everything on the court. And I think that's such an advantage to have when your point guard is your best player. And Oklahoma City, man, give them credit, because I never, especially without Chet Holmgren, guys, like, they're without Chet, right?
Was ready to interject that. Yeah. This is the most sobering thing about this for the rest of the NBA to contemplate, is that they are doing what they are doing without an important piece of their puzzle, who will return, from what we're told. He will return. And so, you know, going down the road when the games matter, he should be there, and he's a rim protector, you know, of the highest order, and so they can be even better. No, I feel like this is an analogy to a famous movie. This is a morning after day. This is a day you wake up. My God. I mean, we're lucky to be alive kind of day. This other summits. I mean,
well, you are because you avoided the snowstorm.
In my experience,
hey, Bob, you are because you avoided the snowstorm, so you are lucky to be alive right now.
That's true. And first of all, I was lucky not to see the game, because we were at the theater yesterday in Hartford, Connecticut, to see Six.
Which is tremendous, by the way. I highly recommend it. Six.
All right.
And Bob made the right move, because going to see Six was a hell of a lot better than watching this shit show.
Now, you made an allusion to the 27-point second half and the 9 for 46 3-point, which, by the way, means that they were 22 for 39 at 56% on twos. Don't get me started on that. Okay. Here's just go on. Second half, 8 for 40 shooting overall, 3 for 24 in threes with 10 turnovers. And Gary Washburn pointed out in the Globe today, very interestingly, the Celtics were only out of 11 turnovers that they forced, only got 3 points. Yeah. What were they doing? They weren't in transition. OKC, meanwhile, 17 turnovers, 10 points. Okay, and one more. Brown, White, Holiday, Hauser, and even my guy, and you know who that is.
Pritchard.
Were combined 0 for 19 in the second half on threes.
Wow.
I mean,
that's hard to do.
Joe Mazzulla.
At what point? Yeah, at what point, Bob? At what point, if you're Joe Mazzulla, do you say enough is enough? This is not our day shooting the ball from three. Let's alter, like, adjustments sometimes. Adjustments.
I've never heard that out of him. And what we did here is a technical explanation about spacing. We didn't space well, and it was echoed by some of the players. All right. But anyway, this, and Gary's talked about the application of the and how they outfought the Celtics and everything else. But that, I mean, they were up 10 at the half, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
They were up 10 at the half anyway. And then they had this abysmal second half capped off with a 29-12 fourth quarter. How's that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, if I may interject something, Bob, on the threes. And I can't remember, Jeff, if we talked about it in our last podcast with you or with Bob, but NBA.com, I think maybe both, but NBA.com had that stat about the quality of threes that the Celtics are taking off the dribble versus off the catch. Now, I don't need to look at stats, and neither do you. But if you looked at the type of three that they were taking from the first half to the second half, completely different. Completely different. In the first half, it was, well, I think, my God, at one point, they had only taken 13 threes. It was inside out. They went to Porzingis inside the paint. That's how they got the 10-point lead. They went to the basket. And all they had to do was keep going to the basket. And then when the Thunder made a run in the third, which you knew they were going to do, they completely fell apart. I mean, just completely fell apart and started taking bad threes and started forcing things. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty. And I thought, Thunder, and this is what you probably need to do with the Celtics. You need to have the personnel to be able to do it, but they have it where you could switch everything on the Celtics. Yeah. Like, you have to play that way, because if you don't, you're going to be exposed at some point, and they're going to get more open looks than they got last night. But listen, yeah, this was a little bit of a statement for Oklahoma City more than anything. It's one of those, like, hey, no matter what your record is, right? Are we really taking you seriously until we see you guys on the court and what you do against us? And again, without Chet and without Caruso, by the way, who's an elite defender.
Yes.
They're two best, probably, defensive players, or two most important in a way. They still won this game. Now, again,
let's get to the. But I want to focus on OKC and Cleveland coming up next. But let's just stick to the Celtics for right now. And I want to throw this out, Bob. I'll start with you, because we talked about the game. We know where they screwed up. This team right now. Are we at the point in the NBA, Bob, where guys are just comfortable to win one?
I don't know. They said all the right things to us before the season started, and about recognizing that it's a new, tear the page out of the calendar. And we also know secondarily that they are aware of their place in Celtic history and want to carve their own notch and realize that to be considered, the way they'd like to be considered, they got to win a second one at least, minimum. They said all this. We wanted to believe them, and they got off to a very good start. But now they're hitting the bump in the road, and this is where Joe's got to rally them and pull them together as well. And the two leaders, that's Tatum and Brown, got to pull themselves together. I'm happy, by the way, that the next game up is a tough game. I'm glad they're not going to be playing the Wizards or the Toronto Raptors again, and make themselves think that they're better than they really are, because they're going to Denver, and we're going to find out Tuesday night. About how they're reacting to this. We want to see how they come out of the gate and how they play. But but answer your question, I don't want to go there. I don't want to think that that's the way that they think. I think just the opposite. I think that these guys have told us, and that they're aware that a second one is important for their Celtic legacy. We've got two things going on. We got the just their general careers in the history and the NBA, and then in fact they know they're part of a special organization. They know that this is one, the one of the two or three. Well, the two with the Celtics and the Lakers are the royalty, the historic royalty, garnering way disproportionate percentage of the championships that this league has offered. There's nobody else even in third, who I don't even know who's in third place. You know what I'm saying? And it's the Celtics and the Lakers, and they know they're part of that. So, and they had told us that they were very aware of it and proud of it. So, all right, it's all on the line now, boys.
Which I think they are. Listen, again, obviously you want to win a second because a second further validates you. But they've been validated by winning that first, and it takes a huge load off of them, right? Like they walk around now with a totally different feeling and the way people treat them, right? You're champions. So it's like a little bit easier to kind of, pull back and say like a year ago, every game mattered to them, I think, because they understood the importance of getting better and winning the whole thing, but the process. Now, like it's just different. It's human nature. They're gonna flip it. They're gonna try to flip it a little bit, but I think this could have been a wake up call. Right, I really do. I think this could have been a wake up call for them.
I'd like to think so. And fortunately, we don't have too long to wait. We got one more day to wait to find out how they're going to react to this. By the way, just go back to Oklahoma City 1 second, but it fits into what we're talking about and their role and this year. This was a circle of the date on the calendar game from Oklahoma City.
No doubt.
Clear that when the season started, they knew that January 5th was the day that they were looking forward to play in that game. And so we that's
now March 12th. And now March 12th will be circled because that's when they come to Bob.
Yeah, and Bob pointed out, too, from the beginning, Bob was very astute. When the Celtics first started to sputter, he talked about the defense. It's still too many easy shots for Oklahoma City in the fourth quarter, no doubt about that. But, Jeff, this is where my head's at right now, is I'm wondering if the defending champs, if their knees are shaking a little bit. Because what I saw in the game last night wasn't necessarily a team giving up. I saw a team that kind of lost confidence in the second half. Like, can this Celtic team take a punch, being the defending champ?
I mean, I still think they're going to go back to, if we had made those shots, right? If we had made those shots, we
weren't
win
good
that
shots.
Game. Which I don't love that philosophy. And, the more you watch him, the more again, Jaylen Brown didn't score in the second half. I keep going back to and Bob beats on this drum over and over. Like, it's just too many threes. Like, yes, take the right threes. I have no problem with you if you're going to take 40 threes, just make sure they're the right threes rather than again, I feel like some of these are like Marcus Smart-esque threes.
Say no more.
You know what I mean? Like, we know what that means. We know what that means.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And speaking, and I forgave him his excesses because
he guarded.
You got to take the whole package.
Right.
We learned that you got to take the whole package.
It's Lou Dort. Listen, it's Lou Dort to some extent, guys. That's who Marcus Smart is. But
yeah, I can see that reference easy with Lou Dort. But he caught my eye. But I must say he caught my eye too at Arizona State.
He's awesome. Because he hasn't changed. He still understands, even getting paid, which I don't remember what he got paid a few years ago. But a lot of guys, once they get paid, they're like, all right, now I'm going to change. I'm going to get it. I mean, Jaylen Brown did it, right? Jaylen Brown was an elite defender when he was younger. Right. And then he got away from that, and it was more, offense is going to get me paid. Lou Dort's never really gotten away from what makes him special and what keeps him in the league and what keeps him, playing starters minutes, even though he's not a great shooter.
Bob, do you have some numbers to share with us?
Well, no, I gave you the numbers in that game from yesterday. So no new update on my. I'll do that another time.
I got a number. It's the fifth season for Mark Daigneault. What a job this dude has done. 39 years old, from Leominster, Massachusetts.
Yep.
When he was hired, so he was hired by the G League. He was when I first met him, he was Billy Donovan's manager. I don't even know what he was, what the terminology was, but I went down there and to speak at one of Larry Shiatt's camps or something. It was like they get a bunch of coaches together, and Daigneault was on staff then. He was at Holy Cross for a minute, and when Sam Presti, when Billy Donovan left, or they didn't have the greatest parting of ways, Presti, who also went to Emerson, local guy. He fired Billy Donovan. So he brings in Mark Daigneault. And I'm like, really? Come on. Like, you're bringing in this dude who's coached the G League team, who's really got no credentials to be the head coach at Oklahoma City. But I know why you're bringing him on. You're bringing him on because you want somebody you can control. Really, that's what I felt like with Presti. That's why you're doing it. You want a yes man here. And you know, they've compiled all these picks, and I'm like, this isn't going to work again. Like, people aren't going to have the patience for this. But, man, they got fortunate with Shea, obviously, with the trade. And then they've drafted incredible, like Jalen Williams has been awesome out of Santa Clara. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody. And nobody saw this coming with Shea. And, you know, they got fortunate with Chet. You know, let's face it, like, Chet kind of fell in their laps here. And they've done a great job around it, putting the right guys in, you know, the Carusos, the Lou Dorts, just kind of winning basketball players that again are high character, that fit what they do. But their roster isn't like Kalen. I love Case and Wallace. I love them. Loved them coming out of high school. Like, this roster, when you look at it, even with Chet on it, you look at it and you're like, okay, like, it's good, but it's not. Mark Daigneault has done an incredible job with this group.
No, I knew nothing about him. I'm learning on the fly.
Yeah.
In fact, first I didn't realize his background until 2 years ago when I was having a pregame meal and before a game at a local establishment. Well, I'll tell you, it was West End Johnny's. And guy next to me introduces himself. It was Mark Daigneault's father. He was in for the game. Really? And my son's the coach of the team. I said, oh, really? And I knew nothing. Usually,
Bob was like, what's his name again?
Usually I could, you know, chime in with, oh, yeah, ba-bing, ba-bing, because I know who the guy was. And I did nothing. I had to, oh, wow, isn't that nice?
Imagine this poor guy. Gary, imagine this poor guy. He's so excited to meet Bob Ryan. His coach is the head coach of an NBA team. And Bob's like, who's your son again?
Yeah, I know. It was embarrassing to me. You're right. I was, oh, shit. Well, anyway, that's my little Mike Daigneault, anecdote.
So, Bob, while we're on OKC, and Jeff just touched on Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City's won 15 straight. Cleveland's won 10 in a row.
Yeah.
Are these two right now the two new powers of the league?
Well, the answer, yeah, they are. And I mean, in terms of sure, right now, if you're starting the playoffs tonight, you know, they would be feeling pretty good about themselves. No question. Absolutely. Cleveland, I've been when I beat them early, I said, they weren't discouraged, folks. Don't worry. This is a home game and all that. Cleveland's very much for real. They got that backcourt. They got those two big guys. They got Jeff Goodman's one of his guys, Evan Mobley, having a terrific year. You got LeVert coming off the bench. They got a coach. And I mean, whatever went down in Jersey, I don't know. Ultimately, except that Kenny Atkinson is a guy of great respect in this league, and he is doing a terrific job with Cleveland. They are very much for real. I think, you know. So absolutely, the answer is yes.
So they are, Gary, they are. But here's what I'll say to that is, like, I want to see it multiple seasons. And they are. Like, I'm not doubting Oklahoma City or Cleveland because I kind of know the fabric of those guys. But we were saying this last year in the playoffs about Minnesota. We were saying this, right? Like, everybody was all in. I mean, people were calling Anthony Edwards the next Michael Jordan. And now this dude, and I know we didn't have this on the docket to talk about today, but I feel like we have to. They make this trade. They get rid of Karl Anthony Towns. And now look at what the Timberwolves are doing. They're a 10th. They're in the play-in game right now. Right. And I just wonder, like, you just see we're not questioning Anthony Edwards' talent. It's never been questioned. From when they sucked, he was a freshman at Georgia, and they were terrible. But you knew his ability, okay? Well, he's still got that ability, and he just went for like 54 in his last game, but they lost. And he, you know, you hear him talk, and he's talking about how frustrated he is to get double teamed and this and that and the other. And I'm just like, he just sounds so immature in how he speaks right now. He's getting fined for using profanities live post game. It's just like, and the sad part is, here's the saddest thing, is like, this dude has been tutored by one of the best human beings ever in this game, Mike Conley. And you just wonder, is he actually paying attention? Is he listening? Because he needs to grow up.
Grow up. I just want to say the two words that were ringing in my head as you were speaking is, young man, grow up.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, and if he does, he can win multiple titles. If he doesn't, I just don't know if he can be the best player on a team that's winning at the highest level.
You know what I'm thinking? This points out something I haven't had a chance to address in a while, but I don't know. But I'm happy to pontificate on this, and that is, when you're talking about athletes, and I don't care what sport we're talking about, and you can identify great talents, okay, easier than you can identify great players.
Yeah.
Because talent is only a start. I don't care what sport you're talking about. I don't care what physical attributes you have. I don't care what great quote unquote athleticism you may possess. You know, and this word got thrown around so haphazardly to me in this sport too, particularly. It's, you got to put what my great mentor, the late Frank Power at Boston College, used to call the connection, and the connection between up here above the neck and the connection below the neck with the body that you've been gifted with, and
he's young.
Those who can make the proper connection are the ones that are the great players. And how many guys have we seen? I have a thing called the all squandered talent team. You know, and it I don't say it breaks your heart, but it frustrates you that they have squandered this talent because they didn't make the connection.
23 years old, so there's still time.
So
right.
No, I mean, a guy like Jordan had the connection from the beginning. We knew that,
Yes.
But all right, fine. Larry had the connection. Magic had the connection. And all that. But
these guys are dealing with a lot more, though, Bob. These guys are dealing with a lot more.
Right, the world
with social media.
Social media.
Like, imagine Larry. I don't think Larry would have ever been on social media, but if he was, imagine some of the trash talking that, if he really wanted to respond to some of these people that go after you on social media, imagine some of the things he would have tweeted at some of these people. Right?
That's a good point. No, it is different. But regardless, points of, I still think that my point is valid, that it's the connection. And so anyway.
All right. So, quick time out here, guys. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. So basketball season, we all know right now, it is right there. It is red hot. And Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. And we know we love the NBA. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits in your account this sports season. And they also put members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money as quick as 15 minutes. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. How about Steph? Does he get more than 5 3-pointers? Or Giannis? Is he going to bust 30? Cook up your takes with Prize Picks. So here's the deal, folks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use CLNS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, guys, moving on, as we still have a lot of work to do here. Derrick Rose. Bob, just your thoughts on him. And he's going to have his number retired. And just what might have been.
Yes, Derrick Rose, an interesting thing. I was privileged to cover his regional as well as the Final Four and with Memphis. And Derrick Rose is in a rarefied category of players I've ever seen, in that you could not fully appreciate, in my judgment, Derrick Rose on television. You had to be there. You had to be there, and hopefully you were on the front row with a nice press seat, as I always had in those days, and to get the feeling of what made him special. We have all seen I call rocket ship guys, up and down the floor. They can go from point the end of the floor vying to who's the fastest guy. But there were very few guys that had the extra qualities that Derrick Rose had going up and down the floor. There were two things that distinguished him for me. One was he had, and I know this is an illusion, but he created this illusion the way very few I've ever had. He had the illusion to me when he was finishing his move to the hoop. He had an extra downshift gear for one final burst that didn't exist before. I'm telling you, he got to the hoop in a way it was more breathtaking. You could feel it. And the second thing he did that I've never seen anybody any better, and that he could go laterally in the air as well as anyone I've ever seen. He could start off going down, and he's going to be shooting from the left side of the rim, and suddenly he's moved over somehow mysteriously, and maybe once again this may be an illusion, but no, not really, to the right side, and move laterally in the air as well. I've never seen anybody do it like that. He was truly special, and physically special, and the sad thing is it was an abortive career. He missed an entire season, by the way. The 2012-13 season, I believe. He missed an entire season. And, it didn't, the whole thing didn't, shake out. Remember, he was the rookie of the year, naturally. He's the youngest MVP ever. In his third year at the 2010-11, he was the MVP. And then he missed the next year. And 2 years later after that. And that started, and then eventually when he left Chicago, it started an odyssey. He wound up playing for 6 teams, including the Knicks twice. He was done by the time he was too young. He's only 36 years old now. So it was an unfulfilled career, but, productive to a degree, but it should have been more out of it. And that's my take on Derrick Rose.
I've known him since he was like 15. And I saw it was the best AAU backcourt I've ever seen, which was Derrick Rose and Eric Gordon. They put them together.
Wow.
And neither one said a word. Like, you're not going to find two more silent assassins than those two. I mean, they don't say a word. They just absolutely destroyed everybody. And Derrick was like that through most of his career, to be honest. That was the coolest part of me watching him talk to the crowd the other night, is hearing Derrick Rose, the human being, and the maturity, because he couldn't have done that. He was so scared of such an introvert. And watching him grow up, those are the coolest things for me, because I've seen some of these kids since they were 15 years old. And Derrick was just what I think I had so much respect for Derrick for was that he was never about the attention. He didn't care at all. In fact, he didn't want it. He did not want it. He would have rathered his teammates get it. I remember being in the locker room after a Bulls playoff game, and it was Joakim Noah and Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler actually ran out the door and didn't face the media after that game. And Derrick Rose had to. And he did with such, just poise. And at that point in his career, you could see it. You could see, he didn't want to, but he did it. He didn't run from anything. He just kind of matured. And it's just sad. It was sad for me to see how his career went, but also really cool for me to see how he embraced, okay, I'm going to have to change how I play. Right? I don't have that explosiveness anymore. And he stayed in the league how many more years, guys, after those injuries?
Another decade.
He was a valued commodity
yes.
coming off the bench.
Yes.
Very, very valued coming off the bench for them, which is something you couldn't have projected when he was a rookie.
Right. But he's a great teammate. I guess that's what I'm getting at, is without going out with guys, because that wasn't his MO. He kind of went his own way after games. He wasn't a guy that hung out with guys. But everybody respected him because he was all about winning and never about himself. That's why everybody still wanted him in their locker room, despite the fact that, honestly, his skills and his skill set wasn't what it was, obviously, when he was arguably the best player in the NBA.
Now we'd be disingenuous if we did not acknowledge the I would say the dark side, but the controversial side, which was, did he or did he not take his own SAT? And it ultimately cost Memphis, their runner-up status in say annals. And we'll never know the truth of that. There was a very muddled, how you can't come to a conclusion, number one. And he did have some, sexual harassment, to say the least, charges as well. And now he's embraced the Lord. Apparently, he has become a very prominent Christian. Fine. I hope, and I want to believe he's very sincere. But I just think we have to acknowledge that there was another side in his legacy off the court. And
do you want to hear a crazy story? You want to hear one of my dumbest stories for me? I'll make it quick, Gary. I'll make it quick. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of this one.
We got all day, bud. We got nothing else to do.
All right. So here's my story it ties into Derrick Rose and taking the ACT, and, it was in Detroit, and, the questions whether he was there, whether he took his own test or not. Anyway, after that, his older brother, Reggie Rose, coached an AAU program. They were out in Vegas at the time, and I'm watching in the stands, and they're losing by 40 to a Team Canada team that had Tristan Thompson on it at the time. And Reggie Rose was a little crazy. And so they're down like 40 early in the second half, and there's a bad call. And Reggie Rose goes bananas. And Reggie's totally different than Derrick. Derrick, like I said, says nothing like this, even keel. Derrick's already in the NBA at this point. He's not at the game. So he goes down and he goes crazy on the ref, and then he decides he's going to take his team and we're going to go home. We're going to go home. You've got 50 college coaches sitting there watching. You're down 40, but there's like 15 minutes left in the game. You could find a way to get players 12, 13, and 14 in the game and maybe get them a scholarship, right? Or at least looked at by. So I go down and I'm talking to Reggie and not talking. I'm kind of like, that's Bush League. Like, you don't do that. You don't do that. And we're like nose to nose, and he's yelling at me and I'm yelling back at him. And my dumb ass finally says something about, did let's talk about Derrick taking the ACT. And, that got him going. That got him going at a high level. So I had to wait it out because I was pretty, young and stupid. And Reggie, after I did that, there were people in the stands that are like, you are the dumbest human being ever. Like, do you understand Reggie Rose, like what he'll do to you? So I'm sitting there like shaking, like what do I do? I don't want to walk out of the gym now. I waited out like 3 more games. I'm like, I'm not leaving. And finally I walked out. I remember I grabbed a coach.
So the team did not leave.
The team left. They left. But I was still like, who knows? I walk out of this gym. I'm going to wait this thing out as long as I can. And I remember walking out with at least one coach, Buzz Williams, who's now the head coach at Texas A&M, and just being like, hey, I need some sort of, I need somebody. If I get my ass kicked here, I need somebody to vouch for the fact that I got my ass kicked. So I got back to my hotel in Vegas with no incident. But how dumb? I mean, seriously. Well, but I was just pissed off.
I understand. Your word choice might not have been terrific.
Yeah,
but I do applaud you because I know you have a passion for the young people. And the fact is, you want to finish the game because some kid may get to a school.
Yes.
That was very selfish by him, and I applaud you for at least taking a stand.
It was the wrong way to go about it at the end.
It's just what we call a youthful indiscretion. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah, youthful indiscretion. We all have that. All right, we're going to talk about Bob's Rockets coming up, but first I have to tell you about Game Time. So look, if you want to go to an NFL playoff game, and we're based here in Boston, so we know that's not happening here with the Patriots. But you can go on to Game Time. Just get the Game Time app, all right? And I got mine on my phone, giant G there. Just click it on and punch in. I don't know. You want to go to wherever. I mean, you want to go see Kansas City, or you want to go see any other teams in the postseason. What's going to happen? Some teams just get in. Denver got in. Maybe you want to go see them. So get the Game Time app. And Game Time Picks filters out the fluff. So you see only incredible deals and great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to get the best value, and they got the super deal. It's the best deal available on the site at that time. That's what you want to do. Check out the super deal. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. Customize your spot too. And you can do this in different cities. So say you're going to go wherever, you're going to go to Kansas City, or maybe you want to go to Buffalo. So you check out that market, you customize your spot so you only get the football tickets if you want. Also, seats, you can view the seats before you buy them. So you log on, you get the seat view before you buy them, and it's terrific. On-time ticket delivery, the lowest price guarantees. They even have cancellation protection as well. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, Bob, we'll wrap it up with the Rockets. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm curious. I'm following them, and I know I'm telling Jeff anything he doesn't know, and he knows far more about them than I do. But I'm just impressed with the youth factor and how the drafting, has produced this team that, starting from the floor in 2021 when they went 17-55, and we're widely known as they're in the Tankapalooza mode. And the next 2 years they went 20-20, 62, 22-60, and then last year they made a 19-game improvement to 41-41, and right now they're 23-12 and at top their division. Of their top 6 scorers, 4 of them are either 21 or 22 years of age, and then they're bolstered by Dylan Brooks, and of course the wise head of the group, one of my not all time, but one of my favorite players of the last many years, Fred VanVleet. And including in there is a number 2 overall pick, Jalen Green. Yeah. I'd like to hear Jeff on Jalen Green. I remember hearing about Jeff talking about Jalen Green. A number 3 overall pick in Jabari Smith, and a number 4 overall pick in Amen Thompson. Did we pronounce it Amen or Amen? Tell me, I don't know. Amen. Okay. And so it's working out, and how far it's going to go, including a Turkish player, Alperen Sengun, who's up to that 19 points a game. And I mean, so what's your overall feel about the Rockets? Yeah.
I mean, listen, Ime's done an incredible job. Like you said, the blend is there, right? They've hit it with some picks. Jalen Green was second overall. Sengun obviously was a late first.
He was 16. He was number 16.
Yeah. He was right around that mid range.
Yeah.
Amen Thompson's talented, super athletic, as is his twin brother. But I think the key was the veterans they brought in, and specifically Fred VanVleet. He's the key for their team because they needed a leader. They needed somebody that kind of fits like who they are. And then you get a coach. And I know what you thought of his father, but Steven Silas wasn't the right pick to coach this team. He just wasn't. And now you bring in a guy in Ime Udoka who, again, say what you want about his off-the-court transgressions, but that dude had everything to do with the Boston Celtics turnaround, everything to do with it, and figuring out what buttons to push to get Tatum and Brown and some of those other guys on the right page. So he's doing the same thing in Houston. I don't think they're quite as talented, but let's see where they go. Let's see what other moves they can make. They've got enough now that they can build around it. But Fred VanVleet, to me, is the straw that stirs the drink, the toughness, and you got the right guys for Ime. Like, that's the other part. Like, you can't get a bunch of – like, you got to get some lunch pail guys for Ime Udoka, and that's what they got here.
And Brooks gives you a little feistiness.
Yes.
That's, a little spice in the plot there, so, kind of a Marcus Smart sort of thing for him there as well. So, but I just find them intriguing, that's all. And I just keep staring at this 21, 21, 22, 22, and I'm impressed, frankly. And you're right.
And they're without Jabari. They're without Jabari Smith, who's got a broken hand, and they're without Reed Shepherd. Right now, Reed Shepherd's not playing. Yeah. He'll be good. He'll be a good piece down the road. I know people were expecting him to be rookie of the year.
Yeah, right. He was the consensus pick to be rookie of the year.
He's a nice piece is what he's going to be ultimately. But again, this team, they got a lot of talent. They got to figure it out, like who they want to build around. And Fred VanVleet's 30 years old. So, you know, you got a couple more years, but they have momentum. They got momentum. They're winning.
Giving their fans a team to root for.
Totally.
You can root for. That's I look for that as an agreement, and they fulfilling that. They are fulfilling.
All right, guys, switching gears before we say goodbye, a little football. I will tell you right now, I worked with Jerod Mayo. He's a wonderful guy. In all, you know, as Dan Shaughnessy wrote, nice guys finish last.
Yeah.
I wish they had kept him for another year. There are many. The Patriot organization has been phenomenal. Look, they're historic. They won 6 Super Bowls. I don't know how anybody could be angry with ownership. They're rebuilding. It happens.
Kids are spoiled. Hey, Gary, kids are spoiled.
Big time. I would have kept him another year because I just don't think the coach alone is a problem. I just think the entire organization just needs to start over. He didn't have any players. He had one player. He had a quarterback that was going to get killed. That's how I feel.
I'm surprised it happened. I expected Kraft to be not that's willing to admit a mistake or anything like that. I didn't expect it to happen. I thought that they would, you know, not listen to the outside noise and give him another shot. It was shaky though. There was a shaky dry, early run here, test run. And there wasn't any evidence he was getting any better. He had the knack of saying the wrong things too, and at the times. And it's just,
Bob, I don't understand the structure. Like, who's in charge?
But there was
who's in charge of the team? Like, at least you knew with Bill, it was Bill. But like, if you look at any other organization, I don't know, you have a GM. Okay, they have a GM. Wolf's kid, but I mean, is he in charge? Is Mayo in charge? Is Mayo just doing the defense? Who's running the offense? Is ownership in charge? Like, who's the guy? That's the thing. I see, you know what I mean? I just see a lot of different people. I don't see like one person who says the buck stops with me.
Well, the one thing I think he's going to be able to sit here a year from now and say, well, you thought I may have been the problem, but they have such a long way to go. Fortunately, they got 2 great components. The other one is Christian Gonzalez,
right?
And he's a potentially elite player. There's no question about that. But other than that, the roster is not. The roster needs an awful lot of help. He deserved. He is a nice guy, and the players, for the most part, want to play for him, as far as I can tell, and they like him and all that. And I was surprised though. But I kept being asked it, and I said, I don't think Kraft's going to do it. I think Kraft will stick with him. But I don't know what was his determining factor. We'll know. We don't.
Well, he did. Listen, he did his job up until yesterday. Yeah. Let's face it, he did his job, right? He lost a ton of games. You really needed to tank this year. I mean, ultimately, that was the best thing for the organization. And now you lose out on Travis Hunter or the value of the number 1 pick.
Right. Yeah. We don't know which way they would have gone. Would they have gone for Travis Hunter or would they?
But he was gone whether they won or not.
Go for the multiple picks, that they could have gotten for him.
I didn't follow it closely enough, guys. I'm not going to lie, but like it just seemed like he made so many other mistakes publicly, like with how he handled things that didn't.
Game management was atrocious at times. Yeah. Utterly atrocious and not professional and not at all. And
with a running back situation publicly, just dumb stuff that was very controllable and didn't make him look like he had control.
Now I'll give you a warning, not a red light here. I've already read one illusion, and you'll see another one, I'm sure, many of them. The unfortunate aspect of this is that he's an African American. And he is yet another African-American coach who was given a very short leash. And the history in this league is that, as opposed to the white coaches, the chances of the further
getting
chances are reduced.
Opportunity. Yeah.
More, white coaches land on their feet better in this league as rule, this historical rule, than black coaches. And so, now we
That's
know
in every league. That's in every league, Ron.
Okay. Particularly in the NFL. I think.
Right.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Oh, no, NBA. I'll defend the NBA in that regard. In fact, I've written about this in the past, going back 20 years, how the NBA is America's greatest meritocracy there is. Got fired black coaches get rehired in the NBA.
True. You're right.
Look at Mike Brown. Because he'll get a fourth. Mike Brown will get a fourth.
Mike Brown.
And he's not the first. J.B. Bickerstaff, not his daddy, Bernie, he bounced. Anyway, different in the NBA. This conversation I'm restricting solely to the NFL, but you're going to hear about it.
Right.
It's going to be Exhibit A, and the problem is that he's got less going for him than other guys did.
He was just.
You're going to hear about it.
Right, and it's a damn shame because I think Jerod Mayo can be a good coach. He would be a good head coach. He was set up to fail. He was thrown into the position at least a year earlier than when he was supposed to be. He was never really given the defense. I mean, Bill was running was the head coach, and his son was running the defense with Jerod. He never really had a chance to say, okay, you're the defensive coordinator. You do what you want to do. He had to deal with Bill. He had to deal with Bill's kid. He never really had a chance to get his feet underneath him. And this year, he gained some experience. I mean, God, I remember Parcells, his first year. Bob, you'll know with the Giants, he wasn't very good. And I remember Parcells
he was 3-13, I think.
Right, but Diossi, I think Diossi told me this. Steve, I'm sorry if I'm misquoting you. I don't think I am. But I don't even know if Steve was with the Giants then. But Bill Parcells wasn't Bill Parcells when they were 3-13.
Right.
He wasn't. He learned on the job. He was too friendly with some of the players. When he came back that second year, it was like, we're all business. And that's something Jerod had to learn too. I just feel he got a wrong.
You like him. I can tell you like him as a human being.
I like him because I think he can be a great coach because number one, he understands the game. Number two, he understands players. He has to learn some stuff. I mean, Jeff, you're right about the media stuff. You're right about that. I mean, because he was if you met Jerod, he said open book. He's like, hey, Tanguay, blah, 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 blah. We talk about family. He's a wonderful guy. He had to kind of shut that down at the podium.
Yeah.
But I think he got a raw deal.
It was like Missoula. But it was like Missoula year one. If you remember, Missoula didn't give people much. Remember when he was in interim, he didn't make mistakes. He's not the Joe Missoula we saw today because I felt like in his mind, he's thinking, if I make mistakes and I don't win, I'm done. I have no shot of keeping this job. I'm going to keep it. Now, he pissed some people off because, remember, he didn't give much. And people were like, he's kind of unlikable. But he didn't make mistakes.
I mean, my God, you could have put on Amos Alonzo Stagg running this team. Would they have done any better?
No, this team sucked.
They wouldn't have done any better. I mean, that's why it's a panic. I'm really disappointed. The more and more I think about it, because I think it's a panic move by the Pats, which generally they don't do. Right. I mean, the Kraft family has never really succumbed to media pressure. They really haven't. I mean, I know Robert is a sensitive guy. He's been very philanthropic. He likes to be in front of the people. He's a great owner. This, as Bob said, this is very un-Kraft-like.
But isn't Jonathan doing way more now?
Yeah,
isn't it on Jonathan?
I don't know where it came from. I think Jonathan is, from what I understand. I don't know. I'm not there.
Yeah.
I would have given him another year, and I would have said, we gotta get some players.
Agreed.
We got to spend some money, and we got to get some players. And
you're at the point where you have to overpay now. You're not the Patriots anymore. You have to overpay to get people.
I don't know if Mayo can coach. I would have been like, okay, Wolf, get me players, because he sucked too. He hasn't done a great job.
Nope.
Wolf hasn't done a great job. And Mayo, you go, one more year, we're going to spend some money. We got to see improvement. Wolf, you run the front office. Mayo, you run the team, including the offense.
Get me some players. Get me some players, and then we'll evaluate whether you can coach them.
And then I'll take the heat in the media.
Because he was okay with, listen, Drake May, I thought, again, developed. You can't argue with that. He did a good job, right?
Gonzalez is a good player. Yeah. I mean, the Charger game, they got smoked. How many? The roster sucks. That's Belichick's fault.
Their skill position guys stink.
Terrible.
The receivers stink.
Terrible.
And then their line. Come on.
They got no line.
Right.
So I hear what everybody's saying.
Yep.
My God, I'd give the guy.
Are they going to hire Vrabel? Is that what the word is?
I don't know. To me, like if you've made the move now, right, you made the move.
And you know who you want.
I would have given him another year.
You know who you want today. Come on, if you're making that move, you know who you want today.
Well, you want Vrabel as the head coach, and you want Josh as the offensive coordinator. And I think Josh would come back as the offensive coordinator from Mike. But here's the deal, and I don't know if this is true. If there's any coaching going on from ownership, and I don't know if that's true, you can't do that with Vrabel.
He won't want to come. He won't want to come.
You got to let him do the job.
Agreed.
I just, people are so spoiled around here. You guys are right.
Yes.
Spoiled. He was ill-equipped to take the job, and then he didn't have the tools to get the job done.
I knew this topic would get Gary going, Bob. I knew it would get him going.
Sure did. Push that button.
Well, I don't know. I'm glad. I mean, the Celtics is really, even though I get frustrated, when they lose to OKC, there's not a whole lot to complain about.
Exactly. No, this is it.
And the NBA is great. I mean, the league's great. You want to watch it, you can turn on games. You see great games. You can see Denver one night. You can see Oklahoma City night. You can Cleveland. There's nothing wrong with the NBA.
Right.
But with the Patriots, and then I'm listening to my buddies on sports radio, and I'm listening to the fans, and I'm like, geez, my God. They almost fired Belichick after he got off to a rough start in 2000. Then look what happened. All right, I'm done.
I would have done. You're right. I probably would have given him one more just to see and give him some talent and evaluate him then. But
I also sit him down. I mean, you guys aren't wrong. And God, this is the longest podcast we've ever done, by the way. This is, you guys aren't wrong in that he needs media training. I mean, he was great when he worked with us at Comcast Sportsnet because he talked all the time. Yep. But now you got to go and you got to say, Mayo.
Right. It's different.
You're not getting paid by NBC Sports Boston anymore.
Right. Less is better.
Anything.
Hey, watch Bill Belichick's press conferences. Less is better.
Less is better. I mean, just say less is better, and that's it. But I just. I hope he continues because
Gary, go get some green tea in you.
Go
get some green tea in you. You'll be settled down. You'll feel better.
Bob's falling asleep. I'm putting him to sleep back here. Mr. Ryan, always a pleasure. Jeff Goodman, thank you. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. All right, gents. Until next time.
Very good.